We begin with the president's announcement today on immigration. Howard Fineman is the editorial director for the Huffington Post Media Group, and Maria Teresa Kumar is the executive director of Voto Latino, and both are MSNBC political analysts. Let me get you all caught up by hearing exactly what was said. First, by the president on this matter. The president had the following to say when he made this announcement in the Rose Garden.
Effective immediately, the Department of Homeland Security is taking steps to lift the shadow of deportation from these young people. Over the next few months, eligible individuals who do not present a risk to national security or public safety will be able to request temporary relief from deportation proceedings and apply for work authorization. This is a temporary stopgap measure that lets us focus our resources wisely while giving a degree of relief and hope to talented, driven, patriotic young people. It is the right thing to do.
And then late this afternoon, Mitt Romney reacted to the president's announcement.
I believe the status of young people who come here through no fault of their own is an important matter to be considered and should be solved on a long-term basis so they know what their future would be in this country. I think the action that the president took today makes it more difficult to reach that long-term solution. I'd like to see legislation that deals with this issue, and I happen to agree with Marco Rubio as he looked at this issue. He said that this is an important matter, that we have to find a long-term solution, but that the president's action makes reaching a long-term solution more difficult. If I'm president, we'll do our very best to have that kind of long-term solution.
Howard Fineman, I think I know how it plays with the respective bases of the parties, both the R's and the D's. But the critical question is, how does it play with the I's, the independents?
Well, that's one reason why Mitt Romney was being as careful as he was here, I thought. He was saying, yeah, it's okay, long term, not short term. He wasn't denouncing it. And I think that's important. That's because it's a close question. If you're talking about if you're talking about swing voters as independents, then a lot of those swing voters are Latinos. And I think this is very important for them and a plus for the president. If you're talking about white working class Americans in states such as Ohio and North Carolina and in Nevada and elsewhere in Florida that are swing states also, then I think it's a closer question. It's a very political thing. Obviously, it's not about the number one topic in the country and in the election, which is the economy. And some of those independent voters don't like moves that look too political. So for them, I think it could be a turnoff.
You heard Governor Romney's invocation of Marco Rubio's name. Did his stock for vice president go sky high today?
I think his stock was already going sky high, and I think in part that the Obama campaign sees that, and they want to get in there ahead of the possibility of Rubio becoming quite possibly the running mate. They don't want to look like they're reacting to Rubio. And also, look, the president needs some forward motion on something. It's kind of like the thing, in case of emergency, break glass. Okay? This was kind of, in case of emergency, break glass. Let's do this Hispanic thing now.
And Maria,
Hispanic thing, I love that.
Well,
okay. No, it's fair, though.
A cynic would say, let's look at the states that will be impacted by this: Florida, Colorado, Virginia, Nevada. I mean, it's half of those that are the swing states.
It's swing states, but I think Howard is right. Had President Obama done this 6 or 7 months ago, the Latino community would have remembered, and he would have fixed this enthusiasm gap that is present now. But now, and moderates by now would have forgotten this initial step that he did. Now moderates are going to say, wait a second, I don't have a job. This is really uncomforting for me because why aren't you talking about jobs and why are you providing special privileges? However, what the Obama campaign has done very smartly is basically saying, you know what, we're going to go out before Rubio, out before Romney, and we're going to own this media campaign and this media messaging. So whatever Rubio or Romney does now, it's going to be very difficult for them to actually own this issue.
Speaking of Senator Rubio, he issued a statement himself on this issue today, and we've got it. We can put it up on the screen so that everybody can take a look at Marco Rubio's, I'd call it, lukewarm statement on Obama's executive order. There is broad support for the idea, he wrote, that we should figure out a way to help kids who are undocumented through no fault of their own. But there's also broad consensus that it should be done in a way that does not encourage illegal immigration in the future. Today's announcement will become welcome news for many of these kids desperate for an answer. But it's a short-term answer to a long-term problem. What does that mean politically?
I think he's right. It's that Rubio's the legislation that he wants to propose is actually creating a path to legalization and residency. President Obama's does neither citizenship nor residency. It just basically provides the opportunity for a kid to get a job or go to the military. The big difference, though, between Romney and President Obama is that Romney has only wanted to support DREAM Act that is only for the military, and that really ruffles some feathers. That not just Latino feathers, but also a lot of moderate and progressives who are saying, "Wait, these young people." They can sacrifice their life for our country, but they can't be doctors or accountants or engineers. That doesn't make any sense.
Howard, I thought of Newt Gingrich. When I heard the announcement today, it reminded me of what I thought I heard the former House Speaker saying on the campaign trail that incurred the wrath of his GOP opponents.
Yes, well, one thing that the White House is doing here is trying to keep Mitt Romney in the corner that Mitt Romney put himself in
right, as a conservative
during the primary season in order to outflank Rick Perry and others on the immigration issue. And they're trying to back him into the corner by going as far as they have. I totally agree. It's a halfway measure. And if you read the 3-page letter of order from Secretary Napolitano, you can see that it really isn't a sweeping thing here. And they can slow walk it to the extent they want. But politically, I think it was overall it was a pretty shrewd stroke on the part of the president.
Maria, let's all watch, because in a Republican presidential debate, Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney sparred over immigration policy, with Gingrich portraying Romney, you'll remember, as heartless. Romney says he's enforcing the law.
Is he still the most anti-immigrant candidate?
I think of the four of us, yes.
Go ahead, Governor.
That's simply inexcusable. That's inexcusable.
You tell me what language you would use to describe somebody who thinks that deporting a grandmother or a grandfather from their family, just tell me the language. I'm perfectly happy for you to explain what language you'd use.
Mr. Speaker, I think I described following the law as it exists in this country, which is to say I'm not going around and rounding people up and deporting them. What I said was people who come here legally get a work permit. People who do not come here legally do not get a work permit. Those who don't get work will tend over time to self-deport.
Maria, what the president put forth today, does it really change things? Maybe this is a naive question on my behalf, but are the sort of folks that he's talking about susceptible, really being deported as things stand right now?
It does give relief to a lot of the, I guess, biggest advocates within the immigration movement, which have been young dreamers, young people. They're the ones that have been basically staging hunger strikes, walking around the country. I mean, they're the ones that have really created this media swell that has been very difficult for the Obama administration to back away from. I think that what Romney has to, I really caution Romney with, is that, again, he's the one that says that he's for some sort of immigration, but he has strange bedfellows. Chris Kobach, the architect between the Arizona SB 1070 legislation, is one of his largest supporters. The fact that he has Pete Wilson, the one that is basically chairman of the California caucus, that's actually of his campaign in California, that's a dirty word among the Latino community. So he's saying one thing, but the folks that he's actually moving his campaign along is very anti-Latino, anti-immigration.
And speaking of strange bedfellows, Steve King, the Republican from Iowa, has already said, I believe, that he wants to sue the administration over what the president just announced today. Iowa is a swing state. Now, everybody in Iowa knows Steve King already, so there's no news there. But to the extent that the Obama campaign in Iowa can tie Romney to Steve King on immigration with this latest play, it's marginally helpful to the president in that state.
Quick question for you, Howard, if I might.
Yeah.
The timing of this. Why today? It's the beginning of summer. This is a serious and big picture issue. Was, politically speaking, this the time to drop it?
I think there's a big political meeting coming up next week involving the Latino community. That's one. And I think the president wants to change the subject, quite frankly, after several weeks of dismal news on the economy and the politics of the economy. Don't forget, to some extent, the president is running a cultural campaign against the Romney's economic campaign. He's got a big gay rights event going on in the White House today. He made this announcement on Latinos. So he's going cultural to change the subject from the economy.
Quick answer. Was today the time to do this?
Absolutely, because the Supreme Court is going to come out on their decision with
Arizona
SB 1070, which basically today the congressional members, Lindsey Graham, said that immigration is literally a congressional issue. So now they're basically forcing the Supreme Court to say, wait a second, the states can't be deciding. So it's going to be interesting how it plays out.
The days of waiting until Labor Day for the starting gun to be fired, long over. This baby is underway. Thank you, Howard Feynman. That's also true. Thank you, Maria Teresa Kumar.